Okay, the Kaotica eyeball or a shield? Stop using them. All right, see you in the next video. But really, let's break down why these things are a massive waste of money and why you should just professionally treat your space rather than use these things. First, let me say the eyeball, and especially the shield, were geared more towards musicians when they were making them. There's a reason you don't see top voiceover actors for Disney, Marvel, DreamWorks, Pixar, just to name a few, using a Kaotica eyeball or a shield. First things first, every single video I've seen out there reviewing the Kaotica eyeball is done in extremely challenging spaces, spaces that no professional voice actor would ever even consider making their space. So what ends up happening is the AB effect. You hear a voice actor in these extremely reverberant spaces, like a bathroom, for example, and it sounds awful. But then they put the Kaotica eyeball on the microphone and oh my God, it sounds so amazing. When really it doesn't sound amazing. It just sounds that much better than the first bit of audio you heard. So it tricks your mind into thinking, oh my God, the eyeball, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So in other words, anyone would be impressed by that A and B. But if you're trying to be a professional voice actor, you're not trying to impress the ears of other YouTubers. You're trying to please the ears of audio engineers who have extremely well-trained ears. That rhymed. Cool. They will be able to hear how the eyeball is negatively affecting the audio and how you have neglected to treat your space. But let's now get into if they actually work and what are those negative effects that happen to the audio. Well, does the Kaotica eyeball actually work? The Kaotica eyeball is supposed to stop hard surface reflections from bouncing off the wall and making it back into the microphone. Technically, it does actually minimize hard surface reflections, so it actually kind of does work. But because the eyeball completely surrounds that microphone and is so close to the microphone's capsule, it ends up making your audio sound muddy or boomy or muffled. So what that means is you're still gonna have to go in post with EQ to try to fix what the eyeball has done to your audio, which you would have had to do if you hadn't treated your space in the first place. So are you really saving yourself pain? No. Let's just take a box, for example. Like I said, you're surrounding the microphone with this eyeball and it's really, really close proximity. So if you have a box and it's way out here, as I'm speaking, blah, 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 the box is getting closer, the box is getting closer, the box is getting closer, and now the box is right around my head and it doesn't sound so good. So that's more of that boxy sound, but it kind of gets my point across. That is constricting what that microphone is designed to do. And all of that stuff is so close to the microphone, there's really nowhere for that to escape. So it just gets boomy, muddy, or muffled. So technically, yeah, the eyeball can save you in a pinch, but it's just a tool and you have to know when to use that tool. And that is very, very rare. That is a Hail Mary pass last case scenario. And finally, using the eyeball or EQ in post to fix your audio because you haven't treated your space, it's just a Band-Aid. What you should really be doing is acoustically treating your space properly up front so that you don't have these issues in your audio. Okay, this is a bit of an extreme example, but it gets my point across. Let's say you have a staph infection and you go to the doctor. And let's say that doctor takes a Band-Aid and puts it over the sore. Well, what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen. So if you're using the eyeball or EQ in post to try and fix bad audio because you've neglected to treat your space, yeah. Trust me when I say, any audio engineer that's worth their weight is going to immediately be able to hear the negative results of your audio, whether it's using the eyeball or the shield, or you didn't properly acoustically treat your space. Like I said, the rule of thumb is to fix everything you possibly can physically up front before relying on EQ or any other Band-Aid to try and fix your audio after the fact. Now, like I said, this isn't to say that the eyeball is a 100% no-go. For me personally, it is. I'm not gonna lie, it's a 100% no-go. I'm never gonna use that thing and I'm never going to tell people they should use that thing. But in all fairness, let me just say, if you're on vacation and there's no other option around you, you can't build a sip tent, for example, which is something Joe Cipriano does. In every hotel, they typically have an ironing board and you can just make a little tent with cushioned pillows and blankets and it sounds a lot better than an eyeball. But let's just say, for whatever reason, you're in the weirdest hotel room in the world and they don't have cushions, pillows, blankets, or an ironing board. Okay, well, in that case, if you wanted to use an eyeball, maybe. And it would sound better than being in a reverberant space, I guess, but I still wouldn't. I wouldn't use it. Okay, so here I am in the Whisper Room. This is the TLM-103. I just wanted to do a before and after comparison of what it sounds like in a treated space and not in a psycho space like a bathroom or something like that. Now you're actually going to hear what the eyeball does to the audio when you put it over a microphone. There's absolutely no processing on this audio. I wanted you to hear what it sounds like raw, straight into Adobe Audition without the eyeball. And now let's see what it sounds like when I put the eyeball on the TLM-103. Okay, now we're back in the Whisper Room. I have the eyeball around the TLM-103, and especially if you're wearing headphones, you can hear the difference between the A and the B. The audio before was very present, very clear. There was clarity in the audio, and now it sounds muffled, maybe boomy, maybe a little muddy, but it definitely sounds a little muffled. It's being stifled by the eyeball. You never want to surround a microphone with anything this closely to the microphone. It ruins the acoustics of the microphone. It can't perform the way it was designed to. And as you can tell, it makes the audio worse. This is why you want to acoustically treat your space properly up front rather than putting a Band-Aid on the audio and expecting it to perform at its most optimal level. Putting an eyeball or a shield or an isobox around a microphone this closely means that you're going to have to use something like EQ in post to try to fix what you've done. So you're basically having to put a Band-Aid on the audio. And if you don't treat your space, same thing. You're going to have to try and put a Band-Aid on the audio after the fact to make it sound better. That's why I always say acoustically treat the space properly up front and make sure everything is set the way it needs to be so that you will get the most professional audio right out the gate. Okay, so here I am in the Whisper Room. This is the TLM-103. Okay, now we're back in the Whisper Room. I have the eyeball around the TLM-103. Okay, so here I am in the Whisper Room. This is the TLM-103. Okay, so there you have it. We hadn't even got to one of the most ridiculous parts of all yet. The cost. They're around $200. So you're paying $200 for a useless piece of foam. Let me say that again. $200 for a foam circle. But honestly, I think the biggest problem I have is, and this, by the way, happens a lot, is voice actors will treat their space and still insist on putting an eyeball or a shield around or behind their microphone. But in all fairness, they just don't realize that their audio would sound so much better if they would just take that eyeball or the shield out of the equation altogether. And yes, everything I just said about the eyeball goes for the shield as well. So let's recap. Do everything physically possible up front with acoustic treatment and soundproofing to make your space sound as professional as you possibly can before relying on a Band-Aid to fix it after the fact. Okay, so I hope I didn't offend anybody. I'm not yelling at you for using an eyeball or a shield. I get it. We're not born understanding audio. It's a very interesting and strange animal, so you need a professional to tell you why to use something and why to not use something. That's the way anything is in life. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and if you did like it, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and, well, you know what they say.